Hi 110. This week I thought we'd do something different and take a quick deep dive into the story Shiloh by Bobby Ann Mason. All the stories this week are excellent, but for my money, Bobby Ann Mason's story is the most layered and textured and possibly the most interesting to you as healthcare professionals due to the one of the major elements running through the story is the instance of SIDS, and then that persistent grief that sort of follows such a life-changing event. I think the place to start would be with the title and really the sort of overlying symbolic context of the story. And it's the death of this particular marriage, as well as sort of Bobby Ann Mason's comment on the death of sort of mass culture, mass pop culture in America, so the way that that's going to dissolve and ruin families. Bobby Ann Mason is famous for what she calls shopping mall realism, right? And it's a sense of realism that is born out of an average American. And by that, we mean particularly just economically, sort of a middle class to lower middle class American, right? And they are not they don't speak with the high education of, say, an Updike or Carver character. They are not fancy in any way, but they experience the same profound feelings of grief, loss, happiness that we all know they do. It's really her chance to try to take a look at normal lives, I guess, quote unquote normal lives, and show those same sort of themes and motifs through those things that would be recognizable in such a context. So Shiloh, Tennessee is the site of a Civil War battle between the North and the South, where the Union soldiers ambushed the Confederate soldiers at the the Confederate soldiers ambushed the Union soldiers at the beginning of the battle, and a bunch of men are killed, and then the reverse happens. The Union soldiers advance and attack and kill a bunch of the Confederate soldiers near the end of the battle. There's no clear winner. Some 10,000 men die and lose their lives, and there's no clear winner decided in this battle. It's just this thing that happens that's a vacuum then on human life. You can kind of see the parallel then to poor Norma Jean and Leroy and their marriage. There's no clear winner here, and it's just all going badly. Then you've got, I guess, the thing to look at would be characters, right, and kind of who they are and what they're about. Norma Jean, clearly interested in improving herself, but she doesn't really know how to express her emotions or what her goal in this improvement is. You've got Leroy, who is, clearly wandering around and looking for anything, very Uncle Rico, if you follow that one. Then you've got Mabel, who, she's a true character, born out of the age prior to women's liberation and feminism. She believes that, her daughter reading books and getting smarter will addle her brains, make her not good wife material somehow. And uses some pretty horrid tricks to sort of keep it all in line, including the insistence that they go visit this place that she went on her honeymoon, a Civil War battleground. She describes it as beautiful, but at the same time, you have the irony that this place is where a bunch of men were killed and slaughtered over other men's ideas, and you have Mabel pushing this family to go there. Interesting. Then you've got the character of Stevie Hamilton, appropriately named. It makes him younger than Leroy by a lot. And then you've got the weird dichotomy of Leroy and Stevie hanging out together, and Leroy trying to spark conversation with Stevie, but Stevie is the son of one of Leroy's classmates, a now successful doctor. And old Stevie is clearly aware that Leroy is this weird middle-aged guy who's buying pot off of me, and dude, just take the bag and go. And then last, you've got a character who's present in the story, even though they are not present in the story, and that is Randy. Randy dies of SIDS at the age of 4 months in the back of their car while watching Dr. Strangelove. Important to note because, one, it's about a fear of the bomb, the atomic bomb, and it also dates the movie, right? If you use that as sort of a time marker, a little Google switch, then you know that when they first got married, Norma Jean and Randy, it was at the very beginning sort of women's liberation and feminist movements. So The gender reversal that you see is they try to improve themselves, or at least as the one tries to improve and the other tries to sort of remain or figure out, it is not to be coincidental, right? Clearly she's doing this on purpose. In fact, at one point in the story, Leroy tells Norma Jean, hey, is this one of those women's lib things? She tells him, don't be so silly, or don't be silly. But really, that movement has changed their lives and sort of upended their lives in ways that, they can't really put to words, but clearly we can see that unfolding. Norma Jean's searching for things to make her feel better, and she is feeling better, but she also feels different. And Leroy doesn't really do much to affect any sort of concrete change in his life, except sort of wander about aimlessly and dream of building log cabins. So I guess the next thing to then move to would be symbols, major symbols of the story. The log cabin is one, right? It's this, not only is it structurally like a Lincoln log or a child's toy, but it's this thing that Leroy wants to build because he wants to stay. Bobby Ann Mason tells us that she's interested in the dichotomy or the tension in characters between longing to go and longing to stay. Leroy clearly longed to stay in the days and times prior to the death of Randy, and maybe even somewhat before losing his job, right? But now that's too late and it's moved on and he can't move with it. And his insistence of this log cabin is somehow, tied to this gender idea of it's masculine and it would, it's nice and it would keep them in a small living space and sort of secure. Sadly, that very same symbol becomes very clearly the empty hole that is their marriage at the end of this short story. He recognizes too late that the log cabin is just an empty box that nobody can fill. Same thing for the other major symbol then would be the Battle of Shiloh, which we've kind of talked about. And then also there's a bunch of minor motifs and symbols. For example, the motif of music. Norma Jean rather plays music that is sort of reflective of what's going on, right? She plays one song about who will be the next one, right? She's moving on from Leroy. She's talking about Sunshine Superman, or she's playing Sunshine Superman while he's laying there on the couch, pot smoking. The irony there between the potential in the one song and what she's actually got there on the couch. So you've got a lot of those little symbols, all pushing at this idea that the major theme, all pushing the major themes of this story. The one is the persistence of grief and the idea that the death of Randy has occurred in a way that has also hurt that tension between longing to go and longing to stay. And it's something that they can't speak about yet fills the story in every turn. It's one of the things that, like the dust ruffle, another symbol, right? It's Maybelle makes it, so that keeps them stuck in their marriage. Put it under, it's the thing that goes around the bottom of your bed. And then, Leroy jokes, we can hide stuff under there. That's what I do. We shove a bunch of crap under our bed. You can't see it, the dust cover comes down. But Maybelle handmade theirs, right? So they've kind of always pushed this idea of Randy out of their head, and it's too large of a thing, that persistent grief, to deny, right? When it goes unspoken, the marriage of Leroy and Norma Jean is what you get. Other major themes, you've got sort of the loss of innocence, right? Norma Jean is intent on improving herself in a variety of ways. She takes English classes and moves on from playing music to writing about music, and she is working on her pectorals and chest muscles and working out and trying to improve herself in the face of such a loss, but doesn't know how to express or find value in any of these things that she's doing to improve herself. She just knows that she's, taking each day and getting dressed and moving on. Then you've got the idea that neither one of them are real comfortable in their role in the marriage anymore, right? She wants to move on and isn't sure. But Maybelle is certainly sure. And she goes so far as to be vindictive about the way in which she keeps them sort of trapped. One, she pushes them to go to this place that she thinks is beautiful, which was a Civil War battleground where a bunch of people died and lost their lives. But two, she makes the dig with the story about the dog and the mother should have been watching the child better, right? Clearly a shot at Norma Jean and how did you not know that Randy was dead? Which is interesting as a healthcare professional. The fallout of SIDS is vast, right? And combating that attitude and behavior is something that hopefully you never have to deal with, but here it is looking at us in this story. And it's one of the things that begins to change as sort of we see this change in America with more education and more awareness and more advancement in healthcare through the time period of the story, that at that point the reaction to SIDS would have been fairly new, at least manifest in this way, or the way Middle America, at least the way Mason imagines Middle America sees it. So in that way, it's an interesting microcosm too. It gives you a good look at the reaction of a character or a person to a very real instance, even if it's somewhat imagined. Then the last thing to really consider would be the idea of the American family. Bobby and Mason's comment here is this is sort of the disappearance of that nuclear family, right? The husband and wife, 2.2 kids. I don't know how you have 0.2 of a kid, but 2.2 kids, white picket fence. That ain't this, right? You've got all the ways in which that's ending in the story. And then perhaps the question that most people have is, well, what about the ending? And Mason has something funny, or not funny, Mason has something significant, rather, to say about the ending. She said, I quote, "I hate to announce what the ending of a story means because I don't want to control what you think about it. The ending is partly yours to figure out. I'm not saying that the ending can have any old meaning anybody wants, but if you think carefully about whatever happened in the story, you should be able to see various implications in the ending. What I do when I'm writing is to keep a story going until I reach a moment when I feel everything in the story has come to a point where it fits together and the final words sort of shimmer, throwing a light back over everything that has come before. A good story should have a powerful emotional effect. You should feel something about the characters and their situation more than you would feel if the author wrote a bare explanation instead of a fully developed story." So what does happen at the end? Does she kill herself, right? We see she's got these arms waving as if she might be falling, or maybe she's doing one of her exercises. The point is the story is very unclear. There is no good, clear answer, and that's kind of her comment as well on this. Where does the American marriage go from here, from this moment? Where does this couple go in this marriage from this moment? Is she committing suicide? If she commits suicide, it's too nice and neat an ending, right? Clearly the persistence of grief drove her to a depression that she couldn't recover from, and she killed herself. But if you're not sure, if it's just vague, that as a reader, hopefully you get just a very vague, unsettled sense of what? And that's the way the characters feel about their marriage. Neither one of them can pinpoint it and put it on the tip of their tongue, and yet they know it's changed and they know it's gone, and it's a very unsettled feeling, hence the unsettled ending. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of things to think about as you take your read this week of Shiloh. Again, the other stories are excellent too, and if you choose to work with those, more power to you. Use this as an example for how to go about analysis of those. Look at the characters, look at the themes, look at the motifs, do a little Googling if you have some details that invite such a thing, like an A&P, right? Updike calls the story A&P. Why? For a particular reason, right? He didn't call it boy quits job at convenience store, right? A&P. So make use of those things too and see what you can find. And of course, if I can be of help, please by all means let me know. That's it. Have a great week and happy reading.